Thomas Lowe, and I'm a landscape designer in Atlanta, Georgia. Today I will be talking with you about waterfall edging. Whenever you install a waterfall, most of the time they're going to be on a hill, or you're going to have to build up a highest point to create that waterfall. Now, if you're on a slope and you build up that waterfall, you're going to have surface runoff, or when it rains, the water's going to hit the slope or the top of the hill, and it's going to run down into the pond. Something that you can do that's very important so that this doesn't happen, and also that will lead to the aesthetics, and we'll get into that in just a second. But the first thing that you need to do is you need to dig a trench, a small swell or subtle ditch or trench right around the perimeter of the width of that waterfall. And then once you do that, what's going to happen is that's going to redirect the water to have it guide away from the pond, because you don't want any surface runoff going into your pond. So once you've dug that swell or ditch right around the edge of the waterfall, then I would take the pond liner that you use and have that liner go over the top part of that ditch and kind of go down into that ditch. And that way any of the surface runoff goes down, channels down that ditch away from the waterfall itself. Now, from an aesthetic standpoint, if you go out into the woods and you just study nature and creeks and waterfalls, obviously they're very natural and they don't have very little to no straight lines. So I would recommend taking different size and textures boulders, not the same consistent boulder and run a line down there, but actually take large boulders, maybe basketball, softball size, some maybe baseball or your fist size, and just kind of put different sizes. And don't always put those, side by side. Study natural pictures of waterfalls and creeks. Those are really good teachers to help teach you how to do waterfalls and waterfall edging. And you'll notice that there's groupings of rocks or spaces in between those rocks. So once you've got your swell dug, the liner over the largest part of the swell, then go back with your boulders or your rocks and sink those into the ground. I wouldn't necessarily put those in the swell or ditch because that could interrupt the water flow, but sort of on either sides of those ditches. Then something that really helps to soften up the boulders and to add as foliage are vines or sprawling plants like Vinca minor, and also heterohelix, which is English ivy. That can be invasive though. Also, if it's in the shade, you can use Lacothoways. I would recommend a lot of drooping plants, and once again, don't put those in straight lines, but put those in little groupings or very erratic or different natural patterns, so that it does add to the natural theme of your waterfall. So just remember making sure that you don't have any surface runoff going into your waterfall or your ponds, and then soften those up with some boulders and natural patterns, as well as putting vines and different types of ground covers to soften those up. Thank you very much. My name is Thomas Lowe, and I'm a landscape designer in Atlanta, Georgia.